Great, thank you. And so if anyone, well, obviously they aren't there yet, but if there are some that are going to be joining on Facebook as well, Samantha Farmer should be there to answer questions if there's anything. And so again, welcome everyone. We're so happy to see so many here. Donna Henry from Wings Dallas is here as well. We're so happy to see you. And it's just about time to get started. There's Donna. Welcome. We're so glad to see so many of you here this morning and hope you enjoyed the networking portion. We are going to do that again afterwards for those that are interested. Okay, well, good morning, everyone. It's 8 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Tracy Irby, and I'm the director at TWU Center for Women Entrepreneurs. We're so happy to have so many of you here today and so many new faces as well. Welcome. The Center for Women Entrepreneurs is part of the larger Jane Nelson Institute for Women's Leadership. The Center for Women Entrepreneurs was funded in 2015 by the state legislature just to help promote women in business anywhere throughout the state of Texas. And we do that through small business advising, funding through our grant programs, networking, and training events. We also fund research into women entrepreneurs and women in business as well. So we're so happy to have all of you here this morning. Donna Lisa is our program director, and she will be taking questions. So if anyone has any for our speaker, you can send those to her through the chat box. I am also pleased to announce our new small business advisor who had just started yesterday. There she is, Justina Shaw. We are so excited to have her. She comes from a marketing, nonprofit, advising background, so we're just so happy to have her here. She will be in Denton and Houston as well, but of course for business advising, we're throughout the state, so we do a lot of that online. So we're happy to have her online here with us and online today. And also we have Samantha Farmer, our senior secretary, and she will be following those on Facebook and if there are any comments or questions there. So again, welcome. We're so glad everyone is here. Well, I want to get us started and introduce our speaker for today. I've known Holly for a few years, I know at least now, so I'm so happy we have her to speak. So we have Holly Burrow. Before joining PeopleFund, Holly founded her own small businesses. Her experience as a small business strategist and her commitment to agility and growth has allowed her to expand her scope and help other small business owners to impact their communities through sharing knowledge, strategic planning, and connecting. Today, she focuses on growing community awareness of access to capital and business information to open the door for new startups to find success. Holly helps her clients with one-on-one business advising, access to capital, business mentoring, small business resources, business planning, and business networking. So, Holly, we are so excited to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you. This is early morning for me. So as she said, my background comes from running businesses myself. So one of the ways that I quickly connect with entrepreneurs is I understand what it feels like to be in the process and to be in the middle of it and not have time to shower or get dinner properly or any of those things, because there's just too many things on the to-do list. And you need, one of the things I do is I work with people to figure out how to prioritize and figure out what needs to come first, so that you are building in a structure from the very beginning to be able to take care of yourself and keep yourself healthy and build a sustainable business, because that's harder than it sounds. Everybody always acts like that's easy. So one of the things that we are going to talk about today is different funding options for your business. And I'm going to keep it really high level, because what we have experienced at PeopleFund, which we are a nonprofit lender, one of the things that we have experienced has been that people don't really, they know what angel funding is, they know what VC money is, they know what crowdfunding is, sort of. They don't really know how they apply to the type of business that they're building or what might possibly be the best choice for their business. And that's kind of where I come in the picture and try to walk them through a process of figuring out what is the type of funding that's going to be the best fit for building your business and help you build a really strong base to be able to grow and build something sustainable. So that's kind of where I'm going to come from today, is super high level. So if you have questions, throw them in the chat for Donna Lisa, and I welcome them, and we will try to get to them as often as possible and get you answers. So I don't know, what should I just throw on screen sharing from here?
Yep, you can share your screen, Holly.
Excellent. Make sure I share the right screen. All right, so everybody always wants to know what funding your business looks like. So what we're going to talk about today is how to find the capital that your business truly needs. Because what we have also found is that people don't always understand exactly how much or what kind of capital their business is going to need to be able to grow. So when we talk about finding funding, we talk about understanding the capital that you need to grow. And it can come from a variety of sources, but really one of the basic things that I really like to drive home with people is you need to have a solid business plan and a clear outline of what you're going to do with the money once you receive it. Because frequently I get people that come through my door that the first thing they think they need is money. And when we really get down and dirty and start talking about where their business is at or where their planning is at, they don't really need money yet. What they really need to do is slow down, take a breath, and build a plan so that once they do receive the funding, however that might look, then they have a really solid plan to use it, because it is shockingly easy to burn through money and then not actually be able to say, this is what I did with it and I made strategic moves with it, because money goes really quickly. And if you're looking at something like investors, whether that be a commercial loan or you're looking for angel money, VC money, any of that, they want to understand how you personally play into your business plans and what experience you bring to the table and how you're going to support the money that they're going to be flowing into your business in order to be able to get returns on it. So today we're going to talk about those different types of funding and how you can use them to expand your business. So the first thing anybody ever does is you bootstrap. Everybody does it. Every single business owner, no matter how small or how large, you bootstrap. You scuttle around and you figure out where you have money in savings accounts and where you can spend money on credit cards, and you just make it work. You make the first few steps work without reaching out to anybody. And largely that's usually because people are afraid to say they have a big idea and they need support. So almost everyone starts at bootstrapping. Even really big companies that have ended up growing into gigantic things like Microsoft, they start in their basement, they start in the garage. You know, that's that bootstrapping level where you're not even really quite sure what you're doing yet, but you know you're doing a thing. So when we talk about funding, the next step usually is that we talk about friends and family loans, and that's you going and sort of gathering money from people around you that want to support your process. Sometimes it's little, sometimes it's big, but it can even be that it's someone that you know in marketing or something of that nature, and they're willing to gift you their services. So when we talk about friends and family, that money isn't always cash. Frequently, those monies look like services exchanged and gifting of time, that sort of thing. And that's a really important step in that process, because if you do that step correctly and you use the resources around you through your network, you start to understand what some of the true costs and needs of your business are without actually having to spend money that you've borrowed yet. So it's a really important step that we really encourage. Like, don't always ask your friends for money. Ask them for help, and in that help, ask them what their normal fees are. Like, because when I was first starting my first restaurant, I had a friend of mine that's a designer come in, and she actually helped me build this beautiful setup on the computer so that I could pitch my idea to the building owner. And it was a gift. She didn't charge me for it. But one of the fails in that process was that I didn't ever actually bother to understand what she gave me and how much it would have cost me to do otherwise. So when I did the next round, it wasn't fair for me to ask her to gift me such a thing. I actually ended up getting charged too much for what I was needing, because I didn't take the time to slow down and understand what it was that was being gifted to me. So when you go through that process of working with friends and family to help get your business going, I really encourage you to understand what it is that you're being given, and what is the true cost of that, and what would you pay if they weren't able to gift it to you. So then the next thing that people usually go to is credit cards, and good, bad, or ugly, it's just the nature of the beast. I would encourage you that if you're looking at funding for your business, make sure that you're getting a credit card that is in your business name. That's something that people don't often do in the very, very beginning. But the earlier that you can get your business structure set up and get all of your business credit rolling, the stronger business you're going to build, because that's definitely one of the things that's going to play in, especially if you're looking for commercial lending at any juncture. They're going to want to see how long running your credit history is, and what, because past performances indicate future performances. And so they want to be able to look back at that. And the sooner that you can get it separated out from your personal credit, the better it's going to be. So those are kind of the very, very first fledgling parts of having business money. So then the next steps that we're going to talk about are the things that everybody sort of knows are out there, but everybody doesn't quite always know how to execute. So when we talk about crowdfunding, that's going to be like a website or a group where you go and you offer some sort of item that's a component of your business, whether it's a product or a service, and you offer up that for a buy-in to your business. And people donate money that they realize they probably won't get back to help you get started. And usually those asks on average are under $10,000. So it's going to, and usually the crowdfunding is a good fit if you have a product-based business. So like I worked with a client in the last year that was building a sort of a smoke pen that would take smoke if you were smoking cigarettes in public and mask the smoke. And that particular product was a really, really, really good candidate for crowdfunding, because he had put a lot of work into building out what it looked like and what the customer experience was. So part of building out a crowdfunding strategy is going in and having that visual and being able to sort of sell your idea, but in small quantities. So crowdfunding looks very, very similar to angel investing, except in vastly smaller quantities. So a crowdfunding contribution might be something like $50, whereas an angel investor might be looking at $50,000. So then the next step after crowdfunding ideas, if that's not a good fit and it wouldn't work for your business type, is kind of generally where people go next is commercial loans, which is the company that I work for is a CDFI, and we are a lending company, but we work with a very specific audience, women. And so our goal is to help people find funding that might otherwise struggle to get funding from a banking institution. So when you're looking at commercial loans, whether it's with us or with a traditional banking institution, there are a lot of things that you need to understand about the process so that when you go into it, you're very prepared and you understand the timeline and what you need to have in hand to be able to access the capital that you need. So the next step is once you've considered that, maybe that isn't the right fit. Maybe you're starting a business that is something that an angel might be really, really intrigued by. We often at the moment associate angel investors with technology businesses. And the reason for that is there's usually a pretty quick return on whatever monies that they're going to be giving. But when you look at either angel investors or at venture capital as well, one of the things that you want to take into consideration is what does your business truly need to grow? Because that's something that as I have gone through this journey of what I'm doing now versus running businesses is people very often, they're ready to ask for money because they see that if they get another $50,000, $100,000, they can build out what they need to build out. But what they don't know is that very often you should ask for strings to be attached to that money that benefit your business. Can they give you advice? Can they step in and provide you knowledge or connections? And those are components that we want to think about when you're talking about getting capital from people that are not a banking institution. We want to make sure you understand what your true asks are. It's the same, but on the flip side of that, you want to think about what you're willing to give up for the money. And that applies no matter where you're seeking money, whether it's from your brother or from a venture capitalist fund. How much of your company are you willing to sacrifice to be able to get the funding you need to grow? And thinking about it in those terms means that you truly understand that there is a cost associated and you are negotiating for what that looks like for you. So we're going to slow it down a little bit and we're going to talk about each of these components a little bit more specifically. So when we talk about bootstrapping, this is you pulling it together and making it happen. Can you tap your savings to be able to do that? And how much can you be willing to put into your business to be able to get it to grow? So my first business was a restaurant and I fully bootstrapped and I burned through every penny of my life savings building out this concept. And in retrospect, maybe I shouldn't quite have done it in the way that I did it, but hindsight's 2020. But bootstrapping is that. It's you accessing what you have in the background of your own personal funding to figure out what it takes to fund your business. And this is very much a personal reflection on your life. And if you don't have it, don't pretend like you do. Figure out what it looks like to find the funding you need instead of stalling yourself out and creating problems for this great idea that you have that you want to grow. Just figure out what it means to be able to find the funding. So then here we are again with the friends and family. And I want to stress again that this isn't always cash. Like that's one of the misconceptions with friends and family loans is that it's always cash. And like I said earlier, it can be services, it can be help, it can be human collateral. So for me, starting a restaurant, the first 3 months of running my restaurant, I didn't hire any help because I had an amazing network of friends that were actually coming in and helping me run the restaurant in person. Which that is basically money in the bank because I didn't have to pay a staff. I didn't have to figure out what all that looked like in the first days of my doors being open. So that in and of itself can be human collateral and human contribution to your business. So loans from families and friends does not always mean cash. But you want to make sure that when you're doing that, you're focused on what it means big picture. Don't burn everyone around you out on your idea. Focus on bringing them into your business, building stronger bonds through doing that so that in the end, they are really truly invested in your business, not just monetarily or body-wise, but they're sold in on what it means to support you because building a business is hard. And so having that support is really, really helpful. And the people that are willing to help you in the beginning, oftentimes they become fatigued. So it's really, really important as you're taking on that family and friends help to understand that they want to support you. And you need to be really clear about what that means because it's very, very hard to navigate that, especially if your friends and family are people that don't have lots of business starting experience in their lives. They don't know what it is you're dealing with. And so part of that process of accepting money or help from them needs to be you explaining what that looks like on the other side and making sure that you're fostering the relationships, not just accepting cash. All right, so the dirty word, credit cards, everybody does this. I don't necessarily personally advise it. One of the best things I did for my businesses personally was not utilize credit cards very much. The only reason that I used credit cards personally was to be able to create cash flow for large orders, that sort of thing, where I would basically pay them back immediately. But credit cards are just one of those things. They're the easiest capital to access, but we need to be aware that it is also one of the highest price tags on capital. So if you do make that strategic decision and do it strategically, don't just grab your credit card out of your wallet because it's easy. Make sure that if you are choosing to access credit card monies, that you are understanding what the rates are, understanding what it's going to cost you, building in a plan to pay it back. Because I mean, sometimes accessing it quickly is what matters, but I don't ever want you to do that and not actually look at what it's going to cost you, because there are a lot of creative ways to be able to come up with cash that might be better for your credit and for your business long run than a credit card. So like my company, and there are many others out there like us, we have some fast access capital products that are less money than a credit card, and they also come with the support of having a group like us behind you. So I encourage you, if credit cards are something that you are thinking of utilizing because you have an opportunity that's in front of you, and sometimes, let's be real, I mean, this is business, sometimes those opportunities evaporate. Sometimes you have to be able to access those opportunities quickly. So if that's the case, just understanding what the field around you looks like and what the playing field is for accessing quick monies will help you make better financial decisions for your business, because we want to make sure that you are not wasting money in places where it's not actually going to help you grow your business. All right, so crowdfunding, which this for some reason is everyone's favorite idea. I get so many asks for crowdfunding support. And the reality is that crowdfunding can be really, really time consuming and requires putting a lot of information out onto the web so that people can understand what your business is, what your product is, how you plan to grow. So there's a lot of background collateral that if you've never done that before, I really want to stress it's worth it to take the time to understand what that landscape looks like if that's something that you feel like is a good fit for your business. Because one of the ways that you get buy-in is by creating visual collateral so that people understand not only what your product is, but how your business will function and how it will be put out into the world. And in exchange, they're going to give you, $50, $100, $500 towards your business. And then what your goal is to get, 500 of those contributors that are willing to risk this small dollar amount to be able to buy into your idea. And there are definitely, Kickstarter is one of those ideas. And people always ask, I want help building a Kickstarter campaign. And I tell them, prepare for at least 6 months. If that is an idea that you think is a really good fit and might be a way for your business to raise money, it's a long process and it involves a lot of marketing collateral that you need to be prepared for what that looks like. And you also need to be very CEO forward to be able to do crowdfunding well, because you're basically putting yourself and your product out there and saying, I want you to, instead of going out and spending money on a Friday night on dinner, I want you to give that money to me because I have this really great idea and you're going to help me grow it. And it takes a very specific process to get there. And so understanding what that looks like going into it is really, really important. And it's not an overnight thing. Don't think that you're going to go on Kickstarter or there are many others, and throw your idea up there and immediately get funding, because it's really, really, it's a really saturated market and it's really highly competitive. So being able to go into that space and do it well does require strategic thinking. All right, so now we're back to commercial lending, which everyone knows what that is, but not everyone knows how it works. So when we talk about commercial lending, that could mean going to your local credit union, could mean going to your big boy bank like Wells Fargo, Bank of America, BBVA, any of those, It could mean coming to someone like me at PeopleFund. There are others like us out there. There are over 1,000 CDFIs in the United States, so there's lots of us out there. And our goals are to be able to help you find that funding. And so the difference between going through like a commercial bank, like a Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and going to someone like a CDFI is that you might be in the first few years of your business, and banks really, they don't like the risk of a startup. So like a CDFI is a really great place to go if you're in the early stages of your business and you need smaller dollar amounts to be able to grow and escalate to a place where you want to be. So had I known, which I did not, I will be completely clear about that. When I was starting my businesses, I didn't know the CDFIs existed and nobody told me, because I would have been a really perfect candidate, because I needed somewhere around $25,000 at about a year and a half into my business, and I had a really specific purpose for it. And had I been able to access the capital, I would have been able to grow exponentially and quickly. And I was never able to access that capital because I did not know that there were people out there willing to help. And that's just ignorance on my own part, which clearly you're already doing better than me because you're here. So figuring out that there are other resources to be able to find money, and understanding that you need a business plan, you need financial projections, all of the things that you would need, even if you're just a startup, even if you haven't even sold anything, you still need to have financial projections and a business plan to be able to access any kind of capital, and understanding that the landscape of that is that it's going to take anywhere from 3 to 6 months to be able to access the money you need is really enlightening, because you need to understand what it takes to be able to get what you need to run your business. And part of what I do personally is I work with people to figure out what that looks like for them, and build the plan and build their financial projections so that they're actually understanding what their financial markers are within their business, so that they know what junctures they're going to need money. So let's say that you do everything perfectly, you do access capital at the very beginning as a startup. There are still going to be junctures where you need cash infusions to be able to grow and to be able to meet the needs of your clients, whatever it is that you're doing. And knowing what that looks like and how to prepare for it and how to seek the funding when you're ready is important. So commercial loans are always going to require a sort of tangible item that you present to them and show them that this is why your money is safe with me. This is why I'm a good investment. And you do that through showing them what your finances look like, what your potential sales projections are, and then what your strategic plans are in the background for growth. So the next idea is angel investors. And this is a word that gets thrown around a lot, but this is actually a pretty hard pool of people to connect to and get the monies. So they are high net worth individuals, and they want to take an equity stake in your business. Sometimes that means they participate. Sometimes it means they don't, but this is where that idea of understanding what it is your ask truly is really important. So if your business needs advice, then that can be an ask. If your business needs connections, that can be an ask. So understanding when you're building a pitch to try to bring angel investors into your business is super important. And a component of building that pitch needs to be explaining to anybody that might be investing in your business how they can protect their investment by giving you the support you need. Because that is an essential component to getting angel investors, is understanding that it's not just cash. You need help. You need support. You might even just need connections and resources, because there's not enough hours in the day to go out and find all of that yourself. And you're paying any money that you access for your business, you're paying money to be able to receive it. So make sure that you're looking for a return on the money you're spending. And it might not be that you get money back, it may be that you get support. And so knowing what kind of support you need is really important. And angel investors are going to really want to understand, what is your organization? What have you built in the background? What is your solid plan to be able to give them their money back and then some? Because that is really why they're there. They are there to be able to make money off of your amazing ideas And in return, they are willing to offer you their support and their help. So being able to explain to them what the pathway forward is for your business to be able to make the money is important. One of the things that I see most often with people that are seeking angel investors is that they don't understand how forthcoming they need to be in their pitch about what the pathway to financial success looks like for their business. They are nervous, I guess is maybe the best word for it. They're nervous to share that with people that would be investing, but that is the opposite that you should be doing. You should be really, really open with your potential investors with what it is, what does success look like for you? What are your markers and how are you planning to get there? Because that's what's going to get the buy-in. That's what's going to get them to be interested in participating, is knowing that you know your numbers. You're really, really aware of what it looks like. So venture capital falls in that same kind of bucket. It's a slightly different bucket, but they also take an equity stake in your business in return for the money. And they are a little bit closer to something like a mutual fund, as in they pool money from lots of different investors. An angel investor could simply be one person that is very interested in your business and wants to participate, whereas venture capital is going to be maybe one person representing another 50 that have thrown money into a big pool, and they're wanting to invest in businesses to be able to turn a profit off of those investments. And so that's, especially if you're seeking venture capital, understanding what your pitch deck needs to look like, what you need to be sharing with them to be able to get the buy-in is fundamental. And that nervousness around wanting to share what your financials are and how you're building those projections, because we all know that in a business in early stages, a lot of your financial projections are guesswork. They're just you kind of hoping for the best and throwing numbers out there that you think possibly would be sustainable based on factors that you've done research around. So, you know, something like, let's say that you're manufacturing a hand lotion cream. Those numbers are going to be based on what does it cost on a production run? What is what do you need to turn around off of that production run to be able to make a profit? And then what is your operations systems cost in the background that need to be offset by the monies that you're making off your production run? So understanding how all those pieces fit together and in a plan, that's the stuff that you need to be able to talk to an investor about, so that they understand what is the juncture at which that scale tips and you start turning true profits, because you know what it costs to run your business. You know what it costs in the background to be able to build a supported structure of your business and maintain operations. Because and a lot of people starting out, they know they have to do that, but they don't always know what the costs associated with that are. So that's one of the things we want to think about. All right, do we have questions? This is a good juncture to stop and ask for questions.
Yes. So from Wendy, we have, and this is going way back to the credit card. Do you need a tax ID number to get a credit card in the business name?
Yes. You also need a DUNS number to be able to do that.
And then from Sharon, if you have a business plan and projections, what sort of collateral does one need for a loan of $100,000?
If you are a startup, we're going to be looking at around 20% of your ask. So if you're asking for $100,000, you would need to have $20,000 of collateral. And if you're looking at someone like us, like a CDFI, hold on, I'm going to answer in the chat really quick. If you're looking at something like us, that doesn't necessarily have to mean cash sitting in a bank account, which is that is one of the things that differentiates like a CDFI from a traditional banking institution, is we can actually look at investments that you've already made in your business and count those as collateral. So let's say that you have a dry cleaning business and you bought a van to be able to make deliveries. That van purchase, the monies that you've spent on that van, that can count as collateral when you're working with a CDFI. So with a traditional bank, you actually would need to have cash in the bank where they can see it sitting there, because they want to know that you have skin in the game, you have investment in this business as well. It's usually going to be 15 to 20%, and it's going to slide a little bit based on your credit score and how prepared you are and what your history is. So like if you've started up 4 or 5 different businesses, you have a really successful track record, you have really good credit, it's going to be a lot easier. But for many of us, I'm throwing myself in that same category, that haven't done that and don't have those kind of track records to be able to show that our percentage rate is going to be a little bit higher, simply because we're a higher risk. And understanding that investment from the lending institution does carry risk, and that's what you're saying, take a risk on me. I have a great idea, but it might actually cost you a little bit more money.
So I think you may have answered. So Sharon also added that she's been in business for over 15 years for the $100,000.
That's different.
And so then Andrea wanted to know, and I think you touched on it a little bit in Sharon's, it was, what are the interest rates from loans through the CDFIs?
It can range. So we have a veteran loan program that is a 5% flat. So finding the resources that fit who you are. So like I said, that's a veteran program. We have specific women's programs that have percentage rate buy downs. So based on the amount of money that you're borrowing. So understanding, that's one of the things that I encourage people really early on is if you're thinking you need funding, start going out and asking questions. Start understanding what's around you, what are the options, what is average, what isn't, because there are definitely some products out there that are shocking because the business world is just that way. So understanding what's normal. So like one of our products, I think currently the percentage rate is 8.25%. And our products tend to carry slightly higher than a traditional bank, but we are willing to take on startups and businesses that don't have a long running track history. So we take on things that are a little bit riskier of an investment, and you're basically paying a little bit extra to be able to access that capital early, as opposed to like this lovely 15-year-old business, which probably could go into a traditional bank and receive funding because they have a lot of financial backing in the background to be able to say, I've been doing this, I know what my profit margins are, I've successfully paid back credit cards and done things and purchased things, and like you have the history to be able to say, I'm a good risk. Whereas a startup business, which is classified as anything under 2 years, that's a very risky investment because we don't know what your track record is. It doesn't matter how amazing your idea is, we simply just don't know, and time will tell, and that's why it's easier to access funding once you're out of that startup bubble. But as a startup, it's so much riskier for people and anyone to invest in that window, including you, by the way, because you don't know if it'll work. You're taking a chance, and it might be amazing and you might become a billionaire, but you also might not succeed at all. And so you have to understand that everybody buying into your business and offering capital is taking those same risks along with you. And so early on, it does carry different percentage rates to be able to access that money early.
Okay, one last question, then we'll let you move on, Holly, to make sure we get done in time. So what are the different fundraising types and points of negotiation? For example, what percentage of your company should you never fund out?
That's a very unique question. I think it probably depends on your unique business and what you're doing. So I have had opportunities to be part of some really interesting partnerships that started out as angel fund seeking. So it just depends on what your end goals are. So like this was someone that was trying to build a shooting range. And in the end, they were seeking angel funding. And in the end, they found a business partner that actually was willing to come in at 49% of the business. So that was almost half of their business, but they brought all of the money they needed to be able to execute the project. And they brought knowledge that they have done this before in other locations. So, and in the end, that particular business decided that it was worth taking only 50% of the profits in the end to be able to grow what they needed to grow. But what they did do in that process is they basically set up a schedule from the beginning for a buyout range. So they, at the end of, I think theirs was 3 years, but at the end of 3 years, this investing company was basically going to get bought out by the original owners. And there wasn't really, it was a contract they set up from the very beginning. So there wasn't, well, they weren't leaving anything to chance. They wanted the ability to take back their company. And so you can build in structures like that from the beginning, as long as everyone agrees that that's an acceptable scenario. But it's truly unique. Like in my scenario, I would have never given away 50% of my company because it would have hurt me too much to be able to do it financially. So it truly depends on what you're building and what your end idea is. And I tell people to start your project with the end in mind. So what is your ultimate goal in the end? Are you looking to build something that's sustainable for your family? Are you looking to build something that's going to be bought out by another company? Are you potentially looking to build partnerships with other companies where you buy into each other? What is your end goal? And then build that from the very beginning. Build something that's attractive to people that are doing the things you want to do in the end, so that you can access what you need.
All right, let's keep going. I've got a bunch more questions for you, but we'll catch them at the end, Holly.
No worries, no worries. All right, come on, there we go. Okay, so one of the biggest problems that founders face is understanding the value of the money that they are accessing. And one of the most common reasons for failure was they ran out of money. And one of the things that I see frequently is that people run out of money because they didn't go into accessing the capital they needed, understanding what they were going to do with it. They just desperately knew they needed money to get going. They didn't have a solid plan. And that's where you get into trouble, because it's really, really easy to burn through money, because there are lots of people out there that are potential opportunities for help, but they carry a price tag. So understanding what types of help you're going to be willing to pay for and what your budgets are for those are super important, because you don't want to run out of money. It's really, really hard to keep going. And it's very, very heartbreaking to get to a very near end juncture for your business truly getting to a successful point and simply run out of cash, because that's a juncture at which it's very, very hard to receive funding. So you want to understand what your costs are for your total project that you're asking money for. So when we say total project, one of the things to think about, like I said, I started a restaurant. Total project cost would have been, what is it going to take to fund that restaurant for 3 years? That's a total project, because then at the end of those 3 years, you're basically starting a new project, because you're going to grow in different directions. So understanding what it takes to fund the entire phase of your project is really, really important. And you plan for the worst. So always overestimate what it's going to cost when you're going into making those kind of projections, and understanding that you're going to always plan to try to do better. You're always going to try to negotiate. You're always going to try to bargain and get better deals and make the most of your money. But, what if you don't have time to figure that out? What if something happens and you need to access something immediately, so you're willing to pay a premium price? Build your plans with premium pricing in the event you have no choice and have to take that, because then you're better prepared for it. So again, with the planning, one of the most common reasons for businesses failing, no plan or business model. So understanding what your process is for getting your finances on track with your business is important. Your business plan is a roadmap. It gets you where you need to be. So I meet people all the time that don't understand why they should put the amount of time it takes to build a business plan in, because they would rather be out there hustling and getting it done and making the connections and running their business. But you've got to have a plan. You can't just go out there and wing it. So in that planning, understanding what your market is. And this is one of those things that if you're going to be seeking funding, this is what you need to know. You need to understand who is going to be buying your product. and do they actually really want it? I have a client currently that is building a product, and we have completely and utterly realigned who her market is, simply because when she came in, she was trying to tell me that her market was this very, very, very niche specific bucket of people. And it turns out, after we did a bit of market research, which market research can simply be sending out surveys, that no one wanted her product in that particular niche. So taking the time to understand that there is a need and a desire for the product or service that you're building and offering is vital. If you don't take the time to figure it out, it's something that's going to come under fire later. Because if you're building a product and you're seeking funding for this business, they want to know, why did you decide to do this? And that is something you're going to have to answer to, even if it's just a commercial loan. They want to know, what is the appetite for what you're selling? Who are you not selling your product to? Because if you don't understand that, that's important. You have to be able to answer these questions with clarity and be able to offer your service or your product to the right audience, because sometimes it might be the right, amazing product. And if you're putting it in front of the wrong people, it's simply not going to sell. So understanding who needs and wants your product is important. So founders' recommendations for success. This was a study that I just found really fun and interesting. The one thing they said they could have done different, which I will completely second that, is more research prior to launch. And that's going to become really clear when you start seeking funding, because you need to be able to answer questions, whether it's from a traditional funder or from a VC fund, about why. Why did you decide to do this particular business, and why is it going to be successful? And they don't want to hear some ethereal answer. They want numbers. They want statistics. They want research behind it saying, this is why, and I can prove it. So creating your own success means taking the time to do the work before you start, being able to answer those questions from the very, very beginning, even if it's just for yourself, even if you are 100% bootstrap and you're never going to seek funding because somebody left you some money, or you've worked really hard and you have a healthy savings account and you're going to fund the whole thing yourself. Please take the time to do the research, because if you don't build a solid plan, it's not going to work. You have to have a plan. You have to be thinking about the end when you're starting at the beginning. And then building out that plan and understanding what the numbers are. Understanding your numbers is fundamental to your success. And like I said, it doesn't matter if you're bootstrapping it all yourself and funding it yourself, or whether you're seeking monies from elsewhere. You need to understand what your numbers look like. What are the timelines for your numbers? What are your financial markers within your business that equal success or equal financial infusions, or any of those things? Like, where are you at? What are your junctures for need? And where are you going to go for those resources, and having a plan for what that looks like. And it can be just a vague, like, at year 2, we will reach X number of sales, and this is the point at which we need funding. And these are the sources that we are going to start seeking funding through. That can be a component of your business plan, is just to show that you have thought about, this is the financial juncture at which we will need more help. And we've thought about where we want to find that help. So, because part of that is that even if it's at year 2, 3, 4, then you have built in the fact that you need to do it, and you can take the time to prepare properly for seeking that funding. Because a lot of the things that we see is people coming in, they're in dire need of funding because they didn't understand how long it would take to get to the money. So understanding that no matter what type of funding you choose for your business, there's a prep process. There's a long process to be able to get to the place where you have a check in hand to be able to support your business. So preparing for that and planning for your own success is important. So one of the things that I wish that I could go back and do again is understand what the landscape is for support. Understanding that you need support, you need the network around you, you need to be able to ask for help when you need it, and learning to ask for that help from your personal circle takes skill. You have to learn how to ask the appropriate people around you for the kind of help that you need. Because everybody that's around you, whether it's someone that's just in your entrepreneur network or whether it's one of your closest friends, they want to support you. I want to support you. Tracy wants to support you. We want to support you, but we need to understand how best to do that. And so understanding what you need and where to get the types of help that you need to support your business is important. And that's part of that, building a roadmap, is understanding what that looks like for you and what types of help and support are you going to need along the way, because money isn't the end of things. You don't just need cash to build your business. You need this entire network of humans around you that support you and want to help you grow and help show you the resources. All right, so that's finding the right support means knowing to ask for the right type of help, knowing where to find it, tapping into the mentor resources around you. So we have a mentor network. There are a lot of other mentor networks around you. SCORE is one of them. The deck has a really built out mentor network. There are lots of resources to be able to speak to and find people that have done what you're doing and want to offer you the help. It's one of those things, like I really love being a mentor because I love being able to tell people, I did that wrong, don't do it the way I did it. Let me show you a better way. I promise there's a better way. It took me a long time to figure it out, but I want to share it with you. So that's what you get when you find mentors that are willing to help grow your business, is they want to prevent you from taking missteps because they've learned the hard way and they don't want you to do that. So tapping into those resources and finding the support you need for your business can make all the difference in the world. All right, so that is the end. So let's get on some of those questions. Promise I'm clicking fast, folks. All right, and so
sorry. Andrea asks, I might be able to access the initial capital needed at a lower interest rate on my own compared to a business loan. In this case, I wouldn't have the credit history to access capital in the future through a bank. Do you recommend that we still start this relationship with the bank and provide the documentation so the company can have this history?
Yes. Always start those conversations. Whenever you have a juncture to sit down with a banker, talk with as many bankers as you can find, honestly. Learn how to have those conversations. And a lot of times things surface through those conversations that you didn't know were important to you, because they are a very specific type of conversation, and a banker might point something out to you that they don't see within what you've presented them that you might need later down the road. So I would say speak to bankers often, and grow those relationships. You should never have just one in your pocket. You need to have many that you know where they are, and have just catch up conversations with them. They're all very, very open to it. I've yet to meet a banker that wasn't willing to go have a cup of coffee, because that is how they grow relationships. Because even if you're not choosing to access funding through them, they want you to understand what they offer, because if you're an entrepreneur, you know other entrepreneurs, and you might be able to share their business cards. So use that to your advantage, have the conversations, interview them like you're interviewing an employee, because they are going to be serving your business. And so ask them questions, grow those relationships.
Awesome. Mahani would like to know, what if your business is an online course? How do you go about getting funding for that?
That one's not easy. That's definitely a place where you need to have a very, very solid business plan and be able to explain to anyone that you would be seeking funding from, even if it's your best friend, where's your money? Where's it coming from? What are the paths to get it? How are you supporting it? What are you spending in marketing? How are you pulling people into your business, and what is the return on what you're spending? So being able to answer those questions are going to be fundamental to being able to get anybody to give you money. It doesn't matter where it's coming from. And that's a type of business that, I mean, we might be able to lend money for something like that, but it definitely would need to come with a really solid business plan, including how you're going to support the business.
Okay. And then Tiffany, she says, we are starting a wedding venue and wellness retreat center at my sister-in-law's house. She still owes 70% of her mortgage. How is that incorporated in the business cost and projection? Also, does it need to be refinanced in the business name? And then the last question of that is, what business structure do you recommend? An LLC?
Okay, so my first statement is going to be, you need an attorney. You need an attorney to ask those questions to. I am not the right resource for those questions, because a lot of that's going to have to do with the zoning for your property and the type of business that you're looking to grow. And you want to understand what protections you need to build in through your business structure. So find if they don't have one for you that you like, reach out to me. I will help find more resources for you. That's one of the things that I do. So if you don't find what you need, please reach out. I will help you find attorneys that you can interview and build a relationship with.
Great, thank you. Carmen wanted to know, why is the DUNS number important? Can you explain?
DUNS number is basically like your Social Security number for your business. It's how they track your credit through your business. It's a number associated with you that follows you through your credit. I think that's the most simple definition.
And then Sharon had a follow-up question. When you talked about the veteran program for women, she wanted to know if that also included spouses of veterans.
It can. So one of the really cool things that I have seen veteran families do is we have both veteran programs and women's programs, and they can be combined. So if you are starting a business and your partner is on that business plan with you, you might actually be able to access more resources because you can double down.
Great. Vicki, I see your question in there about starting a business in home healthcare and would like to know the best LLC. You can reach out to our business advisor. And in addition, we also have some videos on our YouTube channel that go over that a little bit more and explain it so that you can decide what's the best option for you and your business. And how difficult, last question. So how difficult is the process to be a minority woman-owned business? Any benefits to it?
There are lots of benefits to it. It opens up doors and access to things earlier. It is a somewhat complicated process, probably more complicated than it actually should be. I have gone through personally the women-owned business process, and it's mostly just a lot of filing the right documents and keeping track of filing it and maintaining all of the relationships required to do that. So it's beneficial to do it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So we've had a lot of questions in our chat about business plan and which way to go with our business and that kind of stuff. So what I've done is I've put our link in the chat box. If you go to our link tree, you can register for business advising. So you can work with Tracy and now Justina. We do have a business template through LivePlan. You can sign up for that. If you have specific questions about how you need to move forward, of course, reach out to our business advisor. Holly, thank you so much. I know for myself, and I shared with you when you shared the presentation, that a lot of this is stuff that I didn't even know about as an entrepreneur myself. And so thank you so much for what you said and breaking it down in a way that we could all really understand it.
No problem. And it's definitely like, I get people coming in all the time that are simply just asking questions. Like they don't understand what the landscape is for seeking funding. And I'm always happy to help people figure out what that looks like and what might be the best choice for your business.
Yes. And Holly, if you'll put your contact info in the chat. So just real quick, this is being recorded. Holly did share the slides with me, so we will send this out after today's event to everybody that registered. So you will be able to access the slides and the replay. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tracy.
Okay, thank you, Holly. That is such wonderful information. No matter how many times we hear it, I know it's something that women really need, and I'm happy that you stress a business plan. We do as well, and a lot of people don't always realize just how important that is, but how can you get somewhere if you don't know where you're going? Again, that was so awesome. We thank you so much for that. We do have some other events coming up. Our next WomenRISE is going to be on May 13th, expanding your online footprint locally. And that's going to be presented by Lisa Judy of Rocks Digital Media. So that'll be an exciting one about your online present. And I've known and followed her for years, been to her conferences. So it's great information that everyone can benefit from. Our other exciting news is on 14th, our Veteran Women Woman Entrepreneur Grant is opening for applications. The center is offering, well, we're going to have $250,000 available to woman-owned veteran businesses. And the grants are going to be from 1 to 10,000. So we can help start a new business, or if an older business needs growth, we can help with that as well. So you can find all of that information on our websites. Our link tree has been added several times as well in there. So we're super excited about that. So thank you, everyone. And Sharon, at this point, it is not set up for military spouses. We went back and forth. If there's another program, at another time, we may include them. But thank you. That's an important question. So again, thank you, everyone. And we're going to go back to our networking, but it looks like.
So two things. One, Toastmasters is putting on an event in May that's for businesses and helping you with public speaking. I did throw the flyer up in the chat box. You can grab it. I believe the cutoff registration for that is it's either the 23rd or the 28th of April. I can't remember exactly. So you'll want to check that out. I think it's $10, but super worth the time. I'm a former Toastmaster and highly recommend them. And then last but not least, I'm going to throw a poll up here. If you will take a few minutes to take it for me, I would appreciate that. And somebody asked about the May Rise date. That's May 11th is our next Rise. And can we see the poll?
Yes.
Okay, great. About 15 more seconds and I'll go ahead and end it. And then of course, if you would like to stay on for the networking afterwards, we are more than happy to do that. I'm going to go ahead and stop our live stream. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and stop recording.